For today's session, we are going to start with the Wi-Fi hacking. Okay. And for Wi-Fi hacking, what I'm going to do is I'm using a specialized hardware device. That is, very good afternoon, Ben. So what I'm going to use is a wireless adapter. Okay. Yeah, you can go to Amazon.in. You can search for Wi-Fi adapters. There are a lot of wireless adapters out there. Okay, what I am going to use today is the Leoxys one. The recommended one to use is the Alpha one. Okay, this is the one that is recommended to use. Okay, and a bit expensive. The one I am using right now is your Leoxys Wi-Fi adapter. Okay, I'm using this one. This is the wireless adapter that I'm going to use. Okay. Okay, let's get back to my Kali Linux, to my VMware, and let's boot up my Kali Linux. So how many of you guys have actually updated to the latest Kali Linux? Hmm? The latest one.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, Rishabh. Sorry, what did I miss? I just
What is the question?
Hello. No, I'm saying, did I miss anything? I just joined a bit late today.
No, I just started. I
Okay,
was
great.
just telling you about that we are going to discuss Wi-Fi hacking, and this is the adapter that we are going to use. This is the Wi-Fi adapter.
Is
Okay.
it available in the market?
Yeah, it's available in the market.
But actually, I tried to search for this one, but they're saying that this specifically this version has two different kind of PCBs or boards.
No,
So
this one does not have. There's
this one
no
does not.
there's no ambiguity with this one.
So we can just simply order this one, huh?
Yes. Kali Linux for VMware 64-bit net installer 64-bit installer. Yes. Okay. So here my Kali Linux is booted now. Let's log in. So how many of you guys have tried hacking into your neighbor's Wi-Fi by watching some videos online? Hmm? Did anyone? Did anyone try doing that?
Yes, I tried.
Tried?
Yeah, the crack NG.
Okay. Well, your voice is not clear.
Uh, just hold on. Is it okay
Okay.
now?
Yeah, better.
Yes, yes. I said I tried. I tried with the aircrack NG, and there's a program called Flexon. I think Flexon or I'm spelling it wrong now. It's
Fluxion.
not there.
Fluxion.
Flexion, Flexion. Yes.
Yeah.
But the problem is comes out to be decoding the WPA2 password.
Right. So exactly. That's what I was trying to convey here. That if you're going to try it using any online tutorial or any walkthrough, what are the catches? What are the limitation that is not given there? Okay. Nobody talks about like there's no 100% guaranteed way for hacking into a wireless network, but there are certain restrictions. So this is not a 100% guaranteed method to hack into any wireless system. Okay. So we're just going to look into like what is the way. The probability varies from situation to situation. So now I'm going to plug in my wireless adapter. Let's do this. Plugged in. It is asking me that do you want to connect this thing to your virtual machine? Yes. This machine. Click on OK. So let me just see if I have a new wireless interface here or not. So here you can see that a new wireless interface appears, that is WLAN 0. Okay, WLAN 0 appears up here. Let me open Paint. So what we are going to use today is your Aircrack suite, Aircrack suite for hacking into the wireless networks. So Aircrack suite is like it's a bundle of different tools. What we are going to use is Airmon NG. That's one. Then we are going to use Aero Dump NG. That's another one. Then Air Replay NG, and then Air Crack NG. So these are multiple tools which are bundled in a single package known as Air Crack Suite. Okay, so let's try. Let's look into it here. Now you can see that I am provided with this option to connect into wireless networks in my Kali as well. Okay. So I have something in the chat. Do we require wireless adapter? Yes, you do require wireless adapter until unless you are not running Kali Linux as your host operating system. If that is the case, then you do not require it.
But
So
then
now,
again, we still require a monitor mode, right? But our onboard Wi-Fi adapter won't be converting into monitor mode.
no, so that is conditional. It is not like our host operating system is not going to support monitor mode. It may support, it may not support.
Okay.
Yeah.
But with the monitor mode also, it has to support packet injection as well, right?
Yes. Along with that, it needs support packet injection as well. So that's why I just gave you this link to this specific adapter that, okay, this is the one which is tried and tested, which is going to work. Otherwise, you are going to order some other wireless adapter. It may work, it may not work. Okay, that is
Can,
conditional.
can you share the link again if you don't mind?
Yeah, here it is. Okay, I have another question in the chat. We need to machine which has Linux operating system as main. I didn't got your question, Lakshay. Can you please repeat?
Yeah, my question is whether we need a machine which has Linux running as a operating system main.
Yes.
Okay,
If you
so it won't run over Windows, and if we use this wireless adapter, it won't work. Or there are slight chances, I guess. No.
I think there is something that is not clear. Let's go few steps back. What did I said? I'm saying I'm using with this Windows as host operating system, and I'm using an external adapter for wireless support in my Kali Linux. And what
Okay.
I said was, if you want, you were saying that do you need to buy this one, or what was your question initially? Do we require wireless adapter early access? So yes, you need wireless adapter. If you want to do it without wireless adapter, the chances are you can try to install your Kali Linux as your host operating system.
Okay. 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 Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's first of all put this adapter into monitor mode. How I'm going to put it into monitor mode? By doing sudo aero dump ng start wlan 0. Okay. Oops, sorry. The command is wrong. That is air mon ng start wlan 0. Okay, this is going to be the command. So here you can see that I have put my adapter into monitor mode. Okay, there is some prompt which is provided to me. It says killing them. There are certain processes which can interfere with your process, so use this command to kill them. So I'm going to use this command to kill those processes. Airmon ng check kill. Okay, killing these processes killed. Great. Okay. Now, if you are going to do sudo ifconfig, you will see that your adapter name has changed from WLAN 0 to WLAN 0 mon. Okay. Why? Because now it is in monitor mode. Okay. So let's proceed to the next step. Before that, let me create a directory over here. CD desktop ls mkdir, let's say Wi-Fi. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start capturing the packets which are there in my nearby vicinity. Okay. And I'm going to save those packets, save whatever packets have been captured in a file. So let's do this using the aero dump command. Sudo aero dump ng hyphen w for writing into a file. So I can provide any file name. Let's say I provide the output file name as ben. That's my output file name in which I want to save the packets. And then let's say WLAN 0 moon. That's my interface that I need to provide. Okay. I need to mention on which interface you need to start sniffing. Okay. Let me copy this command. Press enter. Let me write it here as well. Oh, why is it not appearing here? Okay, no problem. Let me just write it here. Sudo. Okay, this is the command which I use for starting the capture and saving it into a file. Now there are certain terms which are appearing here. Okay, let's try to understand this output. So we have got output in various columns. The ones we need to understand is this one, this one, this one, and this one. Okay. So the first one is your ESS ID. So what is your ESS ID? Hmm? What is your ESS ID?
The name of the particular Wi-Fi, the
Mhm.
main.
Right. So ESS ID is basically the name of your access point, name of the Wi-Fi you can say. Okay. That is ESS ID. Then there is something known as BSS ID. Okay. What is BSS ID then?
It is basically the MAC address of the particular device through which we are connecting. It will through which with the packet whose packet we are capturing. If I'm,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
So it can be very easily understood from this output as well. These are your MAC addresses, right? This output is in the format of MAC address. So this is the MAC address of the access points, these access points. Okay, these access points. Okay, so ESS ID is your name, BSS ID is your MAC address. Great. So there are different channels on which these access points or routers are going to work. Okay, so here we can see different channels on which they are working. Then we have got something known as ENC cipher auth. Collectively, these three columns basically means here is your encryption or the security mechanism which is being used here. So in total, as of now, we have got three types of wireless security in place. That is WEP. So WEP came in your 1997. WEP is your wired equivalent privacy. Okay, that is WEP. Then we have got something known as WPA and WPA2. WPA2 came in the year 2005 and it is present till day. WPA only came for 1 year, lasted for 1 year from 2003 to 2004. So now what are these differences here? WPA stands for Wi-Fi protected access. WEP stands for wired equivalent privacy. So what happened in WEP was whatever data was encrypted, whatever communication was happening between the access point, the data was encrypted using a key. Okay, it was a symmetric key which is being used, and that key used to be static. Okay, key used to be static. That is one thing. Another thing is that inside the network, that key used to be transmitted in plain text. Okay, so the key was used to be transmitted in the plain text. So that's why if somebody is inside the network once, somebody is able to sniff the data and get the information from that. Okay, so there arises the need for something better, for something better than WEP. And WPA served as a temporary solution only. Okay, it acted as a temporary solution until and unless WPA2 was launched. So WPA2 was in progress and it was in the development phase. WPA2. So WPA acted as an intermediary solution, and it was only 1 year till it lasted. So the devices which were manufactured from somewhere around 2003 to 2004, those are those devices which have WPA implemented in them. Okay, and the devices which are manufactured before 2003, those are the devices in which you will see that WEP is being implemented. Okay, and whatever devices are being manufactured after 2004, they are going to have WPA2. Okay, nowadays there is something even better, that is WPA3. Okay, but as of now that is not being widely implemented and accepted. Okay, so we are not going to look into it. Maybe in near future, once the WPA3 is actively implemented everywhere, then it may be relevant. So okay. Okay, I have talked about these differences here as well. Oops, in the Wi-Fi here, the technologies they use. WPA uses AES plus CCMP. Okay, AES is your advanced encryption standard. CCMP is your counter mode with cipher block chaining message authentication. These are nothing but your encryption standards which are being used here for security. On the other hand, WPA lacked this AES encryption. WPA only had this PSK and TKIP, that is pre-shared key, and temporal key integrity protocol. Okay, the basic theory about them: WEP 1997, static key, plain text. The keys were not encrypted. I have already covered them. Okay, okay.
Arshad, have you shared these documents?
Yeah, I'll share it with you.
Okay.
So now there is something else, something more that we need to understand here. That is known as your handshake. Hmm? That is precisely known as WPA handshake. Okay. What are we trying to accomplish by doing this sniffing? Okay. So let's talk about WPA handshake. Handshake. Okay. You guys must have heard about TCP three-way handshake. Hmm? Yes or no? No. Okay, great. Very good. Have you guys heard about WPA four-way handshake? Yes or no? No. Okay. So there is something known as four-way handshake here. Okay. And now we are going to look into it, what it is, how it is done, how it is implemented. Okay. So let's look into it. There's going to be an end device here at one side of it. Oops. Let's just consider it as a system. There's going to be a router here. Okay. Now there is the first message is from this side to this side. This is your first step in handshake. Okay. These are considered as beacons or nounces, you can say. I can say nouns. Okay. Nouns is nothing but just a formal term to represent the packet. Okay. So in the simpler terms, what I can say is that the router is going to broadcast the packets in the nearby vicinity. Why is router broadcasting? Broad, router basically wants to tell all the devices which are nearby that okay, I exist. I am serving the request. Do you want to connect? I am there. Do you want to connect? Okay. And this is your broadcasted. Okay. The first step is clear. The router is broadcasting that I am there. Do you want to connect? That's why you guys are able to see a lot of wireless access points here. Okay, because router is broadcasting, that's why you are able to see things here. Okay. And why is it in why this type of message is in broadcast nature? It is considered as broadcasting. For connectivity. So for connectivity and for showing it's available, it can unicast as well, right? Why is it broadcasting instead of unicasting?
From single to many. A unicast, so it will be like one-to-one peer-to-peer connection, but here, then the other will not be able to see.
Right. Because at a single point of time, you can see that okay, same access point can appear in multiple devices. And okay, it's there. That's why it is broadcasting. Okay. So now you are going to see some access point here. You are going to click on it and you are going to click on connect. Okay. So that is your second step from here to here, from a client to the router. That is reply to the nouns. And this is unicast in nature. Why it is in unicast nature? Why it is unicast?
Because it's a peer-to-peer connection. It is coming from a device to, but basically it's asking for a permission to connect. So it's a unicast from coming from one to another.
Right, because at a single point of time, I can only send this reply to a single router. I cannot send this request to multiple routers at a single point of time. Right? That's why it is unique nature. Then there is your third step. What happens when you click on connect? The router is going to provide you with the message of authentication. Okay. Router is going to provide with a message of authentication. That is when you are going to click on connect, it is going to give you a pop-up saying like enter the pass key, enter the passphrase, enter the key. Right? That is message of authentication. And I'm going to give you three options here. You need to select the one A, B, C. Unicast, multicast, and broadcast. What is going to be the type of message here? Replies in the chat or in the voice chat.
Hello, hello, Rishabh.
Yes, I
Your
can hear
voice
you.
is your voice is very much breaking. At least for me, I can't hear you.
You cannot hear me?
Yes, yes. There was a lot of break. I don't know. I don't know. It's a problem with mine or the other one as well.
Okay, so let me repeat.
Yes, please.
So I was saying that this is the third step. Okay, and in this, the router is going to reply with a message of authentication. Okay, when you are going to see a prompt to enter your passphrase or your key. Okay,
Okay.
so now my question was that this authentication is going to be unicast, multicast, or broadcast. That's my question.
It will be unicast.
Okay, I have 2 votes for unicast. I need 2 more votes. One from Lakshay, one from Monica. Tell me. Okay, I have 1 vote for broadcast. And I believe Monica is not listening to my question, maybe. Monica is saying unicast. Okay. 3 votes for unicast, 1 vote for broadcast, and all of you guys are wrong because it is going to be multicast in nature. Okay. That is B. Multicast. Why? Because at a single point of time, there can be more than one device which can try to connect to a router, right? So the router is not going to wait for like a specific passage of time. If there are multiple devices trying to connect to a router, the router is going to send the multicast message to all of them simultaneously. Like this is the message, send them to this and this destination. That's what it is going to do. That why it's multicast in nature. Okay. And it is not going to send this message to each and every one. That's why it is not broadcast. Okay. Now what is going to happen? The client is going to reply. The client is going to reply back with a message. That is the reply for the authentication. It is basically your key passphrase, whatever it is. That is going to be sent from the client to the router. Okay. Now these are in total your 4 steps in the WPA 4-way handshake. That's how a 4-way handshake happens. Okay. This handshake is clear. Any comments on this? Any comments so far? Okay, so why we are doing this thing is this whatever we are going to do through air crack suit is we are going to try to capture this 4-way handshake. That is our end goal. Okay, that is our motive here. We want to capture this 4-way handshake. Once this 4-way handshake is being captured, there is going to be key which is going to be shared in the 4-way handshake. Okay, The key is going to be shared. Now what next? Then there is going to be a second step. That is going to be cracking of that key. Okay. So there are two catches here. The first catch is, what if you are not able to capture the handshake? Then you are helpless. That's one thing that your biohacking is going to fail if you want to capture the handshake. The second step is, let's say you have successfully captured the handshake, but you are not able to crack the key. That is the second place of failure where you can fail. Okay. So these are two limitations to it. So let's discuss further. Let's go ahead, get back here. So I'm doing this thing to capture the handshake. I do not have any handshake as of now here. If there's going to be any handshake, it is going to appear here. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to perform a deauthentication attack. Okay. I'm going to perform a deauthentication attack. So the deauthentication attack, what is going to happen in case of deauthentication attack is I'm going to send some specialized packets. They are known as deauth packets, and they are going to be sent to the router, and router is going to disconnect all the devices which are connected to that router. Okay. It is also known as packet injection, and not all wireless adapters support it. Okay. So let's see how you can do a DOS attack. Let me stop this. I need to have target access point MAC address, and what all access points do we have here? Let's do one thing. Let's try to have this one as the target. Okay. Or I can take city broadband as well. Let's take this one. TP-Link 380A. Copy the MAC. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to do a deauthentication attack. The command for it is going to be this: air replay hyphen deauth. 0 is your number of packets that I want to inject. Hyphen A is for your target MAC address. This is the MAC address. This is the interface which I'm targeting. Okay. Let me start my sniffing back. City broadband was my target, I believe. TP-Link 380 was my target. The channel is one on which it is working. Okay. It is not going to work right away.
Don't we need to keep on running it?
Hmm?
You are. Don't we keep on running it?
Yeah, so I'm allowing it to run, right?
No, no. But you're doing control C, so that's why I asked.
Yeah, I was doing control C because the channel number was not matching with the channel number of the router. target access point.
But we
You can
have
see
that,
here.
but we can mention the channel by hyphen channel, and then we can put the channel number as well.
We can put the channel number as well, but we cannot do it this way because I have channel hopping enabled here. Okay, you can see here that my adapter is hopping different channels right now. I'm not currently fixed mentioning any static channel. Okay, that's why I'm not mentioning a specific channel here.
Why
Okay,
is
this
it
is your
hopping?
channel hopping going on here. Can you see?
Yes, yes, I've seen it.
My adapter
But
is trying to listen on different channels. Yeah,
why channel hopping is happening?
right.
Yeah, I got you, but I'm saying why channel
Yeah,
hopping is happening. Is it a feature for this particular adapter? Hello?
yeah. So I lost my internet connection in between, and I lost your question as well. So you were saying why? I
Why
just
channel
heard
hopping?
why.
Why was channel hopping was happening? Because is it an adapter feature or just something else?
We are doing channel hopping because we want to capture the traffic from all the various access points out there. Different access points are going to work on different channels. You can see here, right? Can you see different channels for different adapters? So the different access points. If I'm going to put a static specific channel and all these access points which are working on that specific channel.
But
Okay.
but with but my question is, let's say we are targeting one MAC address. Okay, let's say my phone.
Yeah.
Okay, my phone is a hotspot.
What phone?
Let's say my phone is a
Okay.
hotspot through which you, let's say your mobile and Lakshya mobile is connected. Now what happens is that somebody comes and put a deauth on my mobile because my mobile will be a what you can say, it's a hotspot, right? So
AP.
hello.
Yeah. I
Huh.
can hear you.
I think you have a problem with bandwidth. Can you stop the Kali Linux download maybe?
Okay, problem in the bandwidth. Let me just do it here. Yes. Go ahead. I have stopped it.
Okay, great. Now what I'm saying is, let's say if I am the hotspot and two people are connected with me, if you put a D on to me,
Hmm.
then automatically both of them will be um,
Disconnected.
disconnected, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is that now my channel will become what you can say. I will start looking because with that command airtrack ng I will be monitoring that one. So definitely I will be getting the handshakes, right?
Okay.
Am I going on the right track? Do you understand my question? Basically,
Yeah, we will see where you are going. So first you need to finish, then I'll be able to analyze it where you are going.
okay.
Rishabh, your internet is very unstable today.
Yes.
Yes, I
Your
know.
voice is completely echoing, and we are not able to get what you are trying to convey us.
Okay. Is it clear now?
As of now,
Yeah, so if you have missed anything, you can let me know. I'll repeat it.
Can you check the handshake? I think these are enough packets.
No, we cannot see any handshake as of now. There's no handshake captured. Yeah, you were saying something. There was
No,
some.
but what I was saying was whenever you are gonna deauth me, okay,
Yeah.
then as soon as you deauth me, sorry, my hotspot, uh, you know, I think for that particular interval of time,
Mm-hmm.
all the connection will be gone. Now, as soon as it's gone and we'll stop the deauth, it will make an instant handshake,
Yeah.
right? Unless and until we'll make ourselves a hotspot by what Vivek Ramachandra method of doing something was there. Uh,
Rogue access point.
yeah, rogue access point. Yes, you're right. So what I was saying was, in that case, it will be very quick handshake because I actually why I'm saying this is because
Mm.
uh, I got the handshake done with the deauth itself.
Okay.
But my channel was first of all is neither jumping like the way it was doing in yours.
Yeah.
Second thing was that as soon as I do auth,
Mm-hmm.
mostly the handshake comes out if like I don't have to do it again control C and to go on to all channels. So I did not really understand that strategy of yours. Like, why are you continuously doing it, and why can't we do it in one go and let it deauth, and it will definitely get a handshake captured.
I guess the channels are repeatedly changing. That's why we need
But
to.
normally, Lakshya, channel does not change once they are saying. See, when this is what I saw when I was doing it. I did not see any change when I was doing this when I was running this aircraft NG.
Yeah,
I
so
was
that's why you asked that there it is a separate feature that this adapter is having. You asked no.
Yeah, that's what I asked. So
Yeah.
he said so, but I was actually waiting for Rishabh to answer that.
So why
uh,
I'm doing this is the main motive is it's like, so what we are doing is an active attack. If we are doing this passively, okay, there is no guarantee that I will be able to get a handshake. Okay, there's no guarantee with this as well. So the point of doing this channel hopping here is that I'm just going to turn it on for a few hours. Okay, just let it sit idle there. Just passively listen into the nearby range. I'm changing these channels so that I can capture the handshake from any of these access points. Okay, I'm not doing it. I'm not just narrowing down to something specific here. That is my main reason, so that I can target this access point, all of them
oh,
at once.
okay,
That's my
that's a
main.
different strategy then. Okay,
Yeah.
that I did not come up to because I was thinking that you're only targeting one, let's say Mr. X, which I can see on the top, right? So
Right.
I thought that you are maybe targeting one, and then there is no need for channel hopping. Okay, now I got it.
I also consider this that you are targeting a specific one.
Then I tried to here I tried to attack single one, but still I kept my options open. Like, if there's a handshake by chance passively sitting here, there may be a handshake there. Okay, so if I'm not able to get a handshake from the one which I'm targeting, it would be good if I get a handshake from somewhere else. At the end of the day, I just need a handshake, okay, to proceed further.
Okay, one question here is, if I
Yeah.
have multiple windows open and can I target different channels at the same time?
No,
You
your
cannot.
no, because your adapter is going to be at a single channel once. At once, it can only be at a single channel.
It can be it can be a possibility that adapter can work like this, like a particular round robin fashion or something like this. I'm just trying to visualize.
See, if you are going to specify a channel, once your adapter is working on that channel, the adapter is going to be working on that channel only. You cannot
Okay.
just open another window and start injecting a different channel. That is not possible. That's what I'm telling you.
Oh, got it. Got it. It just came into my mind, so I said I just asked. Okay.
Sure. Okay. Okay. So now either we can just sit here idly waiting for a handshake. Okay. And we can try doing deauth a couple of time. That is also an option here. Okay. Or what we can do is, although I have a handshake captured already in my different snapshot, we'll see if this does not works out. I'll do that.
Okay. Just on this screen itself, can you tell me that ENC in the ENC column there is
Yeah.
one. This is 063087.
Yeah.
This is there is no ENC. What is that
Yeah.
supposed to mean? There is no authentication.
probably it is not going to it is not this adapter is not able to identify this encryption standard here, but most of the time it is going to be WPA only. Okay, this is going to be WPA. Yeah, it is just the matter of identity, or maybe this is some other device. Maybe this is not a router in itself. Maybe this is not an access point. Okay.
Can we also mask this technique as well? Like what kind of ENC we have? You said no, there's a black
No.
box. There's a black box testing as well for the Wi-Fi as well in the corporate.
Yes.
So can we mask this WPA technique also?
No, we cannot.
We cannot, huh?
We cannot mask, right?
Oh.
Yes. Okay. So let's just stop waiting here and nothing here. No worries. Let me just see if I have anything new here. Okay. Okay, let's go to desktop. I have some handshakes over here. Now let's proceed to our next step and try to crack it. Sudo aircrackng followed by your word list file -w, using the word list file user share word list rocky.txt followed by your handshake captured kali1.cap. Let's say press enter, and it is going to provide you with these options. Okay, as here I was trying to capture the handshake from all these different devices. I have these options here. If I would have been able to capture more than one handshake, okay, so there would have been options available here that I have some handshake for others as well. So I have a handshake for this one. That is this option number 16. I'm going to select the 16th option and press enter. I press enter and the key has been cracked successfully. It says the key is 123456789. It's pretty simple key. That's why Aircrack was able to crack it within a second. If you are going to try it, okay, there are going to be a lot of bumps in between. Okay, sometimes you will have difficulty in capturing the handshake itself, and sometimes if you're able to capture the handshake, you will have difficulty in cracking the key as well. Okay. So this was the procedure that we used here. Let me just summarize all the commands here. Airmon ng start WLAN 0. That's the first one. The second one, aerodump I have already written. Then the air replay. -a. And then your air crack. Aircrack ng -w for word list I can just give rocky.txt here, followed by, let's say, okay, the file name, your packet capture file name. So these are the steps involved in this process. Any doubt so far? Anything that is not clear? If there are no doubts, then I'll proceed further. Do let me know. What about others? Any doubts? Lakshay is saying no. Vaibhav is also saying no. Ben, Monica, no. Okay. So let's proceed further then. Okay. Let me just do one thing. Let me save the file, desktop, and save it as Wi-Fi. In short, Wi-Fi. And let me send this PNG to you. Okay. Okay, great. Let's proceed further now. So there are certain other ways as well for Wi-Fi hacking, okay, but they certainly requires more resources than this. Okay, it's like there's a way for that is known as rogue access point. So what happens in case of rogue access point is, let's say, rogue access point, or it is also known as evil twin. Okay, evil twin is also the name which is given to this thing. Okay. Okay. So what happens in case of rogue access point is, you try to deauth the original access point. Okay, you go out there, you try to deauth the original access point, you set up your own access point with the same name, okay, as the name of your target access point. You try to be in the near vicinity of your target, and the target is automatically going to connect to your access point instead of the original one. Once it is going to connect to your access point, there are two methods there. One is you can make it open network. You can make it as an open network if you just want to capture some data from the target device, or else if you want to capture the password, you can just prompt the target user with something like login page for your router. You need to enter your credentials to proceed, something like that. Okay, that is also possible. The major limitations here are like you need to have a adapter which is continuously deauthing, doing a deauthentication attack on the access point, and then you need to have another adapter for setting up your access point, your row access point. Okay, the strength of those adapters needs to be strong as well. Okay, in that case scenario, these cheap wireless adapters are not going to work. Okay, for those purposes, an alpha adapter would be recommended. Okay, I'll show it to you. These are alpha wireless adapters. There's a whole series of alpha wireless adapters. Pretty expensive series. Starting from probably 4 to 5,000. Go up till the 12,000, 13,000 series. Okay, 8,000 here. With different strength, different antenna strengths, and all that stuff. Okay. Well. Okay. So I've shared this PNG, okay, for your reference. Let's close this thing. Let's close this thing. Let's open Paint and let's talk about cloud computing. Hmm. Okay, we have a question through twin attack. Can't we change password by router login? No, you cannot. Okay, until unless you do not have access to the router, until unless you are not inside the network, how can you access the router? Right? Once you have gained the password successfully, once you are inside the network, once you can access the router, then you can definitely change the password of the router login. That is possible, but only after your evil twin attack has succeeded, not by merely setting up your evil twin. Yeah. So you can do that by this air crack suit as well. That is also possible. It is not restricted to the evil twin only. Okay. Now my question is, what is cloud computing? How are you guys going to define cloud computing? Tell me, you guys have been using it for so long, hmm? Knowingly or unknowingly. What is a cloud? Can you define cloud?
Uh, Cloud computing basically refers to uh, in a simple layman language, if I can say, it's basically a kind of a data center which has the capability to scale as much as the requirement grows, and also scale up or scale down. Also, it is not under your direct management. Um, More or less, yeah, more or less something like that.
Okay. And we have some reply in the chat as well. Through cloud computing, we can access our data which is stored on server through internet. And there's another reply, cloud computing, it's using of remote server hosted on the internet data. Okay, right. So all of you are right. Okay, one way or the other way. So cloud is nothing but your remote server. How are you going to define cloud? Cloud is just a fancy way of referring to a remote server, nothing else. There's nothing fancy there. Okay. We have been using cloud since the advent of internet. Okay. Since the day we had our first server out there, that can also be considered as a cloud. Okay. Now, whatever traditional computing methodologies we had, now everything is being shifted to the internet. That is cloud computing. Okay. It's like if I need to give you an example of, let's say, data storage. If I talk about data storage, traditionally we used to store the data locally on our devices, locally on our storage, like hard drives, pen drives, SD cards, and stuff like that. But nowadays we are storing the data on cloud. Okay. So storage is one example for it. Like if I talk about, let's say in Apple there's iCloud. Okay. In Android we have got Google Photos. Okay. You will see that automatically your photos are being backed up to your account. Huh? You can access those photos throughout the globe. Okay. You do not need to even have your smartphone with you. No need to have your laptop, desktop, anything. Just go to America, let's say. Okay. You went out there, You do not have any access. You just need to have access to your account. Okay. You just need to have access to internet. Just log into your account and your photos are going to be there. Okay. Google Drive is another example. Drive is also an example, right? You can store data at the drive and can access that data from anywhere in the world. Okay. So what else? What else? Let's talk about certain characteristics or features, I can say. What are the characteristics or features of the cloud? Hmm? Can anyone tell me features or characteristics? Features or characteristics. Hmm? You can say some unique points of cloud, something like that. We can access through globe. So I can say accessibility is one characteristics of cloud, right? Accessibility throughout any place. That's one point.
Low latency, with edge points, edge
Laten-
locations. Sorry,
Like you're saying no latency.
low latency, low latency.
Okay, low latency.
Yes.
Okay. So can you elaborate on this thing any further?
Yes,
How-
yes, sure. Like what happens is, I'm talking about a traditional, let's say AWS cloud. Okay.
Okay.
Normally, what happens that how a company which is basically working in US has such a low latency. When we are trying to access it from India. So, what they do is they have a feature called edge computing, edge
Mhm.
locations.
Right.
Okay, what they do is they cache their all of their website to those edge locations, and only for the specific requirement, like they need to communicate to the main
Main server.
website. Yes.
Right.
Otherwise, so what happens is that let's say if a company is doing business, a US company is doing business in India, so the people who are trying to log into those websites
Mhm.
will not feel that increased latency or slow connection while connecting to a particular website. So this is
Right.
one.
Right. I got your point. So it's like if there are multiple, for just simplifying it, like you are accessing to facebook.com, you are accessing it from India, you will be connecting to the Indian Facebook servers. Okay. If you are accessing it through US, your request is going to be sent to the US server rather than sending it to the Indian server. Right.
Yes, more or less, but
Yeah.
the thing is like this is like we are still establishing locally, but eventually what happens is all the data definitely goes to the Facebook there in
Right. Right.
US. Yeah.
Right. Right. So just trying to simplify it in
Right.
layman terms, nothing else. Right. Okay. What else? Any more features? There's something
Disaster recovery.
disaster recovery.
Yes,
When I s-
it is basically very it's kind of what you can say not yeah, it is very good in disaster management. Sorry, not recovery, disaster management.
okay.
Yeah, because if we have different locations, let's say normally what happens is that we have several data centers.
Yeah.
So in a one particular country, let's say two or three, minimum two to there are, and they are
Yeah.
located at different geographical locations. So
Right.
by any chance, if we got a flood in Mumbai, at least
Yeah.
the Delhi location one is working. So
Right.
disaster management.
Right. Disaster management is one, but if we need to put it with the cloud computing, what we can say is that if I talk about traditional businesses, let's say there's a traditional corporate operating at a traditional, they are having their own hardware servers there at the location. Okay. And that corporate is not that big. Okay, that it can be having redundancy in servers. Okay, so what they can do is they can just try to shift all of their infrastructure to the cloud, and they are now free from that disaster management stuff. Hmm? No matter whatsoever happens at the geographical location, all of their infrastructure is being located somewhere else. Hmm? They do not need to worry about that. Everything is being outsourced, right? Yes, Ben. You have some question?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, like you were talking about the features, and I think one of the features is availability. Like the data is always available when stored in the cloud,
Mm-hmm.
and then also security is high.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like someone may have physical access to your phone or to whatever, to your system, to your machine, but because it is stored, your data are stored in the cloud, so the security it is secured and the security is high.
Okay, right. So I agree with the accessibility and availability point. Okay, but security point is still debatable. Okay, because we cannot guarantee the security in cloud. Like if we have something in our physical access, we are the sole in charge. I can ensure the security of it. Like I'm going to just buy a safe and I'll put my hard drive inside that safe. I'm going to lock it up, and now I am secure that okay, no one is accessing that data. I have encrypted the drive and I have kept it inside a safe. Okay, but when I say the data is being shared, saved in the cloud, so there's a concept of multi-tenancy, multi-tenancy in the cloud, right? Because that platform is going to be used by multiple users out there, right?
Yes, you're right, sir, but I think we're talking about personal cloud. I don't think it's public. So, being your personal cloud, like Google Play, you use as an example, like Google Photo, this is your personal, and it is not public. No one can access it except only you. So, I don't think it is public cloud where everyone can access, everyone can come and view what is going on. I think it's your personal cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So it is secured other than being on your phone. Everyone, sometimes people can have access to your phone
Uh-huh. Right, right. I got your point.
machine.
Right. So there's a main thing. The main differentiating point here is your public cloud and personal cloud, right? So there
Yeah.
was a security nightmare that happened uh, with these Google Photos. Okay, actually, this happened last year in 2019, somewhere in December, I believe. What happened was, let me tell you, like I'm able to recall it because you just gave this example of Google Photos, right? Like you are saving your photos and it's your personal cloud, like, right, and it is very secure. So what happened was there was some bug, there was some glitch with Google. Okay, and it's Google software. There's an option there in your Google account management where you can download all your data which is being stored by the Google. Okay, so what happened was there was certain days, I believe it was 5 to 6 days duration. I read this news, maybe I'll be having it in my references as well. Let me just try to search here. No, no, cannot find that news. Anyways, so what happened was during that days, whosoever tried to back up their own data, by mistake, Google backed up somebody else's account data to those people. They tried to download the data, and photos and account details from other users were downloaded on that person device. Getting my point? So, and the sad part is that Google came up with this notification. Google apologized to those users who tried to download their data. Okay, Google never revealed whose data was actually abused through the process. Okay, it's like if I just give you an example, I was trying to download my data, and Google accidentally provided me your data. Okay, that okay, Rishabh, here is your data, but actually it's Ben's data. It's your data. Okay, so What happened was Google apologized to me that okay, accidentally we have provided with somebody else's data. Please delete that data, whatever you have downloaded. Okay, but
I understand.
yeah, but Google never told you that we have accidentally sent your photos to somebody else. That's the main thing here.
If it did, then there are going to be a lot of lawsuits coming to the court.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Okay. Let me just see if I have that news link in my reference. Just give me a quick second. Okay, I do have it. Connection failed. Tap, tap, tap. Here it is. Some Google Photos videos and takeout backups were sent to strangers last November. Hmm? Great, huh? I'll share this link. And there's another thing, like you guys must have read about these conspiracy theories that Google is trying to control the internet, YouTube is trying to control the feed, and they try to suppress whatever is against them. Hmm?
Yes,
Maybe,
there was a hearing going on.
right.
There was a hearing, I think last month itself.
Yeah,
Google, Facebook, Twitter, and then there was Microsoft.
yeah,
They become too big as a company, and basically above the law. That
right,
is what the main headline was.
right. So actually, what I have faced is during that time I saved this link, okay, and after that day I have tried to look for this link. I tried to search for this thing. I never find it by doing a Google search. I'm not able to find this link. I'm able to get this article only because I have saved it as the URL. Okay. Anytime I search for Google backup, Google Photos backup, something like that, it never appears. According to the company, less than 0.01% of photos users. Like Google is so vast. If I talk about 0.01% of the population, it is still going to be a very big number, right? Okay. So let's get back here. So we were discussing about the characteristics, and scalability is one characteristic, I can say. Hmm? Scalability is one, or let's not just type it here. Scalability is one, accessibility is one. Okay. And when I say scalability, it is very easy for the corporates to scale up and scale down. Hmm? That is basically your scalability, right? Like tomorrow, if you need more resources at your disposal, the elasticity that is provided by the cloud, it is like beyond your imagination. You want to scale up, your traffic suddenly increased, just scale up by a click. Hmm? By default, Google Photos provide you with 15 GB of storage space, free space. You want to scale up, you want more storage, just do 2 clicks, just make a payment, and there it is. You have extended storage. Then we have got accessibility, disaster management, okay, and availability is another thing. Then there's also a characteristic known as pay as you go, hmm? Or we can say pay for what you use.
On
So
demand.
on demand, yes, on demand is yeah, on demand service would fall under the accessibility and availability criteria. Okay. And pay as you go is something like you only need to pay for the amount of resources that you have utilized, for the amount of hours you have utilized those resources.
Yeah, normally what we do in computing,
Yeah,
right? When you use EC2, just like cloud and AWS. So
right,
so that category is basically on demand.
right. Okay, so nowadays you will see that a lot of corporates are now trying to shift their infrastructure from the traditional infrastructure from their hardware to cloud infrastructure. Okay, so there are different types of cloud computing models out there. Okay, that is, there are three types of models out there: SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. Okay, SaaS, PaaS, IaaS. Okay, SaaS basically stands for software as a service. PaaS basically stands for platform as a service, and IaaS basically stands for infrastructure as a service. Okay. Now, what are these things? These are basically your cloud computing delivery models, you can say. And what is the difference between them? Can anyone try?
Like infrastructure as a service, you can use it for storing your data. Like you are using your infrastructure to just store your data. You're not doing any computing. You're not doing anything. Well, like we want to archive something. If
Hmm.
I if I'm saying, like old document. Let's say like T series, very old songs. Because they have record for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So they can put it and they can use infrastructure as a service.
Okay.
And software as a service is basically uh, you're using their software to work on it, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
uh, the software service, we can say, there are particular set, like TensorFlow.
Okay.
We use their software as a service to work on that, to work on our own coding or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm correct. Platform, I forgot.
Okay. So let me help you out in that regard. So SaaS is basically your software as a service. Okay. What happens in case of software as a service is uh, the service provider is going to provide you with a software. Okay, everything is going to be managed by the service provider itself. Everything, the management, the development, the underlying infrastructure, the underlying networking. Okay, and SaaS is basically provided to the target audience for SaaS is your layman users, casual users, or end users. Okay, those are your target audience for SaaS. If I need to give you an example with which you guys can resonate is, it's like your Google ecosystem. Whatever is provided in your G Suite, Google Photos, Google Drives, Google Docs, Google Keep Notes, Google, everything that is provided. Okay, that is for end users, casual users. You do not maintain the application. You do not care about the application. You just right away start using it, and that's all. You do not need to understand anything in that regard. That is software as a service. You do not even need to know that okay, there's a cloud involved behind the scenes. Okay, that's what SaaS is. Now SaaS is either provided by uh, a browser-based method. Okay, either there is going to be a website which you can access, or there is going to be some kind of a very small application file, a very light application which is going to be provided to you. Okay, which is not that resource intensive. Okay, it is just providing you with a user interface to interact with the cloud. Okay, and if I need to give you other examples, they are going to be like Salesforce CRM systems, okay, or MS Office 365. These are certain services that you guys have been using for so long, and these are the services which fall under the SaaS category. Okay, now comes your platform as a service. So in case of platform as a service, what happens is, first of all, the target audience for platform as a service is developers. Okay, developers are your target audience here. What does developers do? Developers basically develop. Hmm? develop and deploy. That's what they do. So basically, in platform as a service, platform for development and deployment, very easy software development, application development, and the deployment of those application is provided. Okay. If you guys would have tried uh, coding in any language, you would have observed that you cannot just right away boot up a Windows system and start coding. That is not possible. First of all, you need to set up your environment, right? You need to get the language support. You need to get the, if it's a compiled language, you need to get the compiler. You need to get an IDE, okay, something like that, so on and so forth. A lot of stuff. And even if you have uh, configured that platform, still you cannot just deploy that application in your machine itself. Okay, you cannot just start generating traffic to your machine. That okay, I tried making a website. Now I have deployed my website on my own machine, on my own laptop. Now people around the globe can start visiting my website. They will be making a request to my laptop, and my laptop is going to act as a server. Again, that is a deployment concept. You cannot just deploy it right away if you are doing locally. So in platform as a service, these kind of platforms are provided. To whom? To developers. Okay. For what purposes? For development purposes and for deployment purposes. Okay. So in here you can see, you can understand that okay, the technologies which are going to be used for development, those technologies are going to be provided. If I need to give you an example, a very good example of it is Heroku. Maybe some of you have used Heroku, maybe some of you have not. Heroku is an example. Okay. It's a platform as a service. Let's go here. And here you can see what all languages are being supported by the platform. Okay. If you are going to take a platform from them, if you are going to use Heroku as a platform, what languages are going to be supported? Unleash your inner startup, focus on an application, turn your computing, okay, what else? Unparalleled ecosystem, developers, teams, businesses of all size, developers, CTOs, teams, startups, enterprise. Right, so basically what you can do is, whatever language you need, you can just develop it using these platform. You can deploy it, you can manage them, and you can even scale them with this platform itself. Okay, that's what platform as a service basically means. Okay, I have personally tried Heroku. It was a good experience. Okay, I tried it for web development. It was nice, great, and I was able to deploy the application as well. Now the limitations for these PaaS is, like, there are certain times vendor lock-ins. Okay, when I say vendor lock-ins, what does that means? That means if like I'm using Heroku as my vendor, okay, I have a web application hosted on Heroku. I have developed the application there and deployed the application there itself. Now I want to migrate this application from Heroku to, let's say, AWS. AWS also offers platform as a service, and the name is Elastic Beanstalk. AWS Elastic Beanstalk. I want to migrate these services to Elastic Beanstalk. So there is no guarantee that I would be able to migrate completely. And there are certain times when vendor lock-ins occur. When I say vendor lock-ins, like there are going to be features which are not going to be migrated from this platform to another platform, and that way I would be stuck. I would be stuck so badly that either I need to stick back to the Heroku, or I need to just discard everything and start afresh on another platform. That's what I refer by vendor lock-ins, like certain features which are only specific to a specific vendor. Okay. Right, guys? Any doubt? Anything that is not clear? So Vaibhav is saying Bo. Bo. No. Okay, it was a typo. Hmm? No. No doubt. Great. Yep. Okay. Nice. So in next session, I'm going to talk about IaaS, and after doing IaaS, I'm going to give you a practical example as well. Okay, I have my AWS account already set up. We are going to look into infrastructure as a service on AWS. Okay, we will see how we can deploy our Kali Linux in cloud. Okay, guys. So that would be all from my side for today's session. If you have any doubt, you can ask me now. If you do not have any doubt, you guys are free to leave. Okay. Have a great day ahead. Take care. And bye bye. Yeah.